I'll just sort of start by saying I think that it's really amazing that we can have nights like tonight where we come together to celebrate independent filmmaking, and I think just honestly throwing a little bit more respect these two guys' way, specifically because I think that it takes a lot of courage to have a night like tonight and to put yourself on display like you have, and I think that it was really brave, and I think that everyone really enjoyed the film, so we'll just ask for one more round of applause, guys. So I sort of sit at the interesting intersection, crossroads of knowing both these two young gentlemen, and from my two experiences at different universities, and I've come to know them and their creativity and their imagination, and getting to know them makes me understand a little bit about their films as well, and I'm sure that they'll have a lot to say about that. So just before, while you guys get your questions ready, I just have a little question of my own to say, sort of what is it that inspired you to make these films? What were you trying to say? What kind of films were you trying to imitate or get inspiration from? Zack, I know that you obviously love people like Wes Craven and Scream and slashers. I thought that was quite evident. So maybe you can start us off.
Thank you, Steven. Scream is my favourite thing ever. Like, I love that film so much, forever. I think that every, hero or every person who's on the good team in a horror film should have a chance to survive. They should have a chance to run. I don't know. And Nicola's character got many chances, but she blew her chances, unfortunately. But I just like, I think a big part of my inspiration is like, I want people when they're seeing that to be like feeling for her, to feel anxious and to care for this character and what's going on in her world. I think like once her character started to exist for me and I started to know that character, I was like, I needed to tell the story of like what happened to her that terrible night with her and her friends. And I think also I was inspired to just, I wanted to do horror really well. Like I think like from The Light, which was the feature that I did in 2019 where Nicola was in it as well. She was the little sister. From The Light, I think from there I wanted to refine it further, and I wanted to, and inspired by Wes Craven in parts, there's little moments, and it was the first thing I observed with Wes Craven and different horror stuff where he leaves a lot of room to the left or right of people, and a lot of like shadowy room, and I just remember first seeing those films and being like, they're going to come from there, like that's where they're going to come from. So I wanted to play with where the audience is kind of looking and stuff. But yeah, that's my answer. I love it.
I guess for me, it sort of came from an inorganic place. I guess I went through that Scorsese, oh God, how many films do I have left in me? Sort of mindset of, I got 7 ideas, let's combine them into one thing, and it works surprisingly well sometimes. Try because you mix and match things. Like, that doesn't make sense with that. Maybe it does if I can meld them. But for Skin and Blister, I think the sort of embryonic aspects of it came from this idea of following a conversation between two people in a car that are waiting for some sort of outside, really doesn't matter what it is, element, as long as it's something that puts these two characters together. And then this idea of this young girl sort of wandering into the rain and almost not having a care in the world, but that not being the thing on her mind is her environment. Maybe it's all what's going on inside the head necessarily. So I think combining those ideas and just sort of landing on this exploration of these two sisters that ultimately comes from 2 aspects of my life, 2 times in my life. I'd say sort of my late teens and my early 20s, which is one where I was very in touch with my emotions and very aware of the things I was going through, and then getting a little older and almost losing touch with that and feeling like I'm actually feeling very numb, and that's almost more scary to me than the other side of it. And I thought exploring those two ideas, one being Emma, one being Charlotte, was sort of where I wanted to take the film. Yeah.
Fantastic, that was great. I just have one more, and then I'll hand over to the audience, because I'm sure they're... Yeah, I am, I'm sorry. I just wanted to speak about sort of the commonality between the two films, because obviously that's why we're here, to celebrate these two films together, because I agree, I do think that they have a common atmosphere. I think personally what plays into that a lot is the atmosphere brought through the music. Do any of you guys have anything to say about how music helped to build the atmosphere across the two films, and how you went about approaching it? I know that the composer for one is here.
I mean, the music is ultimately the glue to almost any film, bar films that don't have music at all, they're few and far in between, and which was actually one of my inspirations. Portrait of a Lady on Fire has no diegetic music, so it's interesting that's an inspiration, but then also music is so important to the actual film and the gluing of these two films. I think because visually there's the similarities, and they're both films are exclusively at night. There's rain, mist, fog. There's all those elements that sort of create invisible barriers, like the shot in your film, the POV of the car driving forward, where you have a very limited view of what's in front of you. And then, like you were saying, you're playing with vision already. So I guess the music having a similar glue comes from the films visually having that match. I don't know, I think that's where that comes from. What do you think?
I think that the sound was super important to me, and I think it is fuel for both of ours to like indicate moments of catharsis or moments of like tension building. Like I realised as I was watching my film, I was like, oh, it's just tension building and tension building again and then building again and it keeps building. Musically, I think, I don't know, I really wanted to use a lot of room sound. That's like the main thing that I played with, is just a lot of moody atmosphere, lower sounds where, and that was Paranormal Activity inspired, which I love, because Paranormal Activity, which scares me so much, has a very, like the room tone is all so loud. And so it gets you thinking, like, if the room tone is this loud, how loud is the next sound going to be? Like, it puts you on edge. And I tried really hard to play with really low and really high frequencies in that way. I have a question. I have a question for Beth here. If that's okay, I'm going to steal. And then maybe we go to the audience then, maybe. I wondered if you had any relationship in your life that you were able to base sisterhood on, because I think you play it really well, and it's written and it's in there, and it's your performance as well, where you do get the sense that there is this like interesting familiarity where you push her buttons. And are you the little sister? That's my guess. I was like, you're acting like little sister there, you know. But I wondered if there was any inspiration from that.
Oh, put me on the spot. Well, the annoying sibling, sorry Mum and Dad, I do have a younger brother, so I got inspiration from him in the fact of, no, I don't want this, I want the one that you've got. In regards to the sibling relationship between Danny and I, we'd kind of been working on it for 3 years with Jake, so it was very much we'd meet up every couple of months, we'd have a chat, so we definitely developed that relationship. So it was really good kind of knowing each other for so long, we weren't just thrown in the deep end. But, I mean, when you've got friends and people that you know, you kind of develop those relationships. Obviously, having a young brother, I really got the annoying aspect. Pretty good, I think. But yeah, Danny was just lovely to work with. It was very much a sisterly bond. If I ever needed help with anything, she was there to help me. Makeup, she helped me with the makeup every time, let me get the wings. But yeah.
Come here. Come here. Alright, hold still.
I don't want this one, I want that one.
Are you serious? You're lucky I even have a spare.
That one looks warm up, and it's got more pockets.
Fine. You know what? You can have both jumpers. Have all the pockets in the world.
Have all the bloody pockets in the world.
You added bloody, that's a punch. Ow, hey, that's not, no punchbacks.
Great, awesome guys. So I think we'll throw it to the audience now. So if anyone has a burning question in their soul, speak now or forever hold your peace. David?
Let's go. I can project.
No, this is my job.
Get his steps in.
Hello. Okay. This one is for Zack. So you know, at the end of your film, shit goes down. Do you have any prospects for, say, a future film? Because it kind of does feel a bit like a proof of concept. And can you please tell us what the hell happened?
Hi David, thank you for your question. I've written a bigger series around this, a TV series. And so I've written out 6 episodes. This happens in episode 3. So there's a lot of backstory behind why these 2 people with the masks are coming after her specifically, and her friends. They really, really blame her for something that's happened. I can say what it is. Kira, her character, saw this maths teacher have an affair with a student, and she exposed it to the school. Her 2 friends took a much more kind of typically male, stupid approach to it, and they went and beat the maths teacher up. So in the maths teacher's mind, he'll do anything, and he pins it on her. He blames her for it entirely, which is terrible. But as to what happens next, I love Nicola's performance, by the way. A round of applause for Nicola. It's so good. Sorry, I didn't mean to say isn't she special, but you are a fantastic actor, and it was so good. Yes, we must. But after that moment, Mark is taken to an abandoned school camp, and he's put in one of the cabins, and they leave the door open for him. And so he spends a lot of his time, he knows that they're out there waiting, and he spends a lot of his time wondering whether he should try and go through that door or not, because he knows what happened the last time he went through a door, which was he got hit in the head with a hammer. So it's a psychological thing for him, but it all extends and spirals and gets bigger and bigger. It's a big, huge kind of story between these teenagers and this maths teacher and his friends, and it's a lot of fun. I love it. But thank you for the question. I'll get Jake wants to ask a question too.
Yes. The thing I was sort of teasing at earlier when I said there's a lot of things I think your film, Zack, does that is a little bold, a little bit maybe testing the patience in terms of the build-up, like you were talking about earlier. And I think that puts a lot of sort of weight on your shoulders from performance-wise. I think I use the word, the performance is very unconscious of itself. And the reason I say that is in my very limited acting back in the day, when I look back at it, I'm like, oh, I can see all the things going through my head, and I can see the Jake notes ticking through that. And when I watch this film, I just see someone, doing their laundry, watching a show, hanging up, it fell down, the power's out, I gotta get to. It's so unconscious of itself in a way that's so hard to pull off, I feel like. So what was that like to to sort of pull off the gymnastics of having a thought process as a character and really blending it into the environment without it being like, oh, this person's acting like, oh, go here, the lights are, that's your direction.
Well, firstly, thank you. I was certainly conscious of myself, especially when I could feel my mother laughing at me doing the laundry. That's a really great compliment. I actually really appreciate that, so thank you. I remember at the time just thinking like, just being conscious of being unconscious of myself. And I think during the moments of tension of when you're at home alone and you see a shape in the corner that's really just a pile of clothes or something, and you have that like double take of what is that? Okay, that's fine. I just try to think. I had this teacher, this voice teacher who was really funny, and she has a saying called that she says stress is stupid. Stress makes you stupid. When you're in a situation where you're shocked or something just like makes you panic, your cortisol goes up and you just blank, and hence stress makes you stupid. It makes you blank. And so I think thinking back to times I've actually been scared, that's usually my response. I just kind of freeze up and just go completely blank in the face and probably look like a bit of an idiot. So I just tried to think about that. Just look like a dummy.
Because then you've got to admit that horrible things are happening to you if you like you're frozen.
Yeah. And it's still, I mean, Bethany and I were talking about this, as an actor, like you watch yourself and we can be very self-critical. And so I still watch that performance and go, oh, oh man. So yeah, I appreciate the kindness. Thank you. I don't know, did I answer your question at all?
I think so.
Okay.
Great. We'll go back to the audience, guys. Yeah, awesome.
This is a question for just both the actors in general. Is there any part of the movie that you had the most fun acting out in particular?
The first thing that came to mind is when I'm making the sandwich, the cheese toasty. It was like a brick by the end. By the time we were done with it, we pressed it down so many times. It was like genuinely by the end of like filming that scene, it was hard as a rock. And it just every time I'd flip it on the pan and go, it just didn't sound like a sandwich should. So we had a lot of laughs over that, and I think everyone refused to eat it afterwards, so it was a waste of a sandwich. I'm trying to think if there was any other funny...
Did you have fun with Malakan
I did have fun with Malek and John. They're really lovely guys. They're great actors, and they're both doing wonderful things now. Yeah, I had a fun time. Everyone's just very nice on the set as well. So it helps when you're like with your friends. It's a smaller cast and crew. It's more of an intimate environment, and you can just sort of be yourself around everyone. And I think that kind of gets rid of the pressure of performance too. Is when you're comfortable with people, it's like you're at home. So.
Well, we were definitely doing late night shoots. I think anything after 10:30 was hilarious for everybody. One night in particular is very notable. I think everybody was attacked by at least one bee because we decided to set up filming next to a beehive. And obviously with bright lights, there were lots of bees attracted to it, and apparently the scent was attracting other bees. And I think in almost every take we'd hear a cut, there's a bee in it. Or it'd be one of those really serious scenes, we're emotional, we're trying not to cry, and you just hear a little bzzz. Seriously, like, I think the best one was Danny and I were like really close to each other in the emotional moment, and all of a sudden you just see a little Everyone loved that. I don't think Danny and I were too happy with being trapped in a car with a massive bee. But that was definitely a notable memory that I think everybody enjoyed.
It wasn't fun, that's for sure. But I will say, I do feel particularly bad for the camera crew at 4:30 a.m. packing down those lights that had 30, 40, 50, 60 bees inside them. And so yeah. But in all fairness, if I was trapped in a car with a bee, I would pee myself. I'm horrified of bees. So I'm not disputing. That is terrifying. And I apologise. We didn't know. We just didn't know there was a beehive right there. So we thought spiders would be the problem.
No, didn't see one spider.
Yeah, exactly.
Bees everywhere.
It's never how you expect.
Great. Anyone? Yeah, Blake. This is a question for Zack and Jake. What do you think was the most challenging aspect of the filmmaking process? It can be technical or even with the writing process.
Hello. I think that for me it's like just setting up lights and stuff is really challenging. And for me the most challenging part is that I should remove myself from the situation, but it feels like I really know what I want it to look like, and it frustrates me when it doesn't look right, and I try not to take it out on everyone. I think I was okay. I think I didn't for the most part, but I take it out on myself. Like I'd walk outside and be like, fuck. When it was raining, actually, I had a really dark night of the soul where these guys were waiting inside and we had to call off the night pretty much because of the rain. And I sat by the front door by myself and I sat just looking out at the rain, just being like, please stop.
It's great when it happened to us.
That was a tragedy. Yeah, Jake's was very ambitious with this rain. But yeah, that was challenging for me.
I got personal. But I mean, that's true. There is definitely that personal aspect of when you're trying to make something and it's like really stressful or late at night and things are going wrong, that like it really does. Deep inside, you're like, oh, that monster really needs to stay down there right now. Oh boy. I guess from a technical standpoint, I mean, like I would talk about the rain machine, but it was actually pretty flawless, I would say. Other than literally the first shot when part of it snapped. I'm like, oh, someone's running to Bunnings right now. They're very close. That was really the only hiccup there, but I think definitely the shot list, and that was me and Blake spending days and days and days and days of just trying to figure what are the most interesting, economical ways to shoot this thing, because it is a lot of dialogue and it's a very cramped space. So, yeah.
The car is crazy to super tight, like you did get creative with it, I thought.
Yeah, so that was just it's also the keeping it interesting. You know, telling the story through different angles, but then also how does this sort of keep it engaging and interesting beyond the surface level of you know, everything else going, because it's, again, outside the car is just this very misty, rainy, you can't see anything, so you're very focused. And just in terms of the camera gear and the slider and all the little things, just squeezing it all in the car. But I feel like that probably, would you say that helped you and Danny performance-wise, that most of the time when we would roll, the car doors are closed, there's like blankets covering certain windows, and so it's pretty much, for a lot of us, it's you, Danny, and maybe like squeezed in there too as well. How was that in terms of, most of the people on crew had no idea what you were talking about the whole time while we were rolling.
Having it so close, it helped make a more intimate environment, because I know when we had the emotional scene at the house, I felt like it was a lot harder for me in the sense that there was 4 or 5 people outside the window right where I was crying, there was 3 people to the side of me chatting, so it was kind of getting into the zone of that aspect of, I need to be emotional right now. Whereas when we were in the car, Danny and I, we were in our own little bubble. It was very easy to kind of connect into the scene, whereas I think most actors probably know, you kind of, even if you leave the scene, you're still in the environment, you've still got the same people around you, you're still in the costume. But I think it definitely helped being inside the car, acting was on, we were in the moment. Whereas when we needed to kind of break out of that and get back into ourselves, it was exiting the car. We could have a break where we weren't emotional, where you could just kind of breathe. Obviously for you guys, you couldn't, because you were trapped in the car with a little camera and couldn't get out. But it definitely helped create a more intimate environment. There wasn't the stress of having everybody staring at you, which was really lovely. So thank you for that one.
So I had a good opportunity to do a segue question there.
Great, guys.
Thank you. Just want to say, Hell Night and Skin and Blister, well done. Thought it was really, really good. The scene in Hell Night where she actually opens the door made me jump more than like 1 minute. What I wanted to ask, the scene where the poor dude is in the boot, I thought it was very realistic. How did you guys actually get around filming that?
That night was really pretty fun. It was pretty crazy. I think we put like some.
It was like glycerin that got in his eyes.
Oh yeah. To really, and then I think we bounced the car a little bit.
We did.
When we're filming, we're shaking the car in a garage, and James and Geordie, you guys had to get super close to in on that eye, which I really like. I really love that shot. But yeah, with this, I'm trying to think how else we did it. We just put we just added that little bit of red light, which indicates car boot to me, and put some nice tape on his mouth before we put the rough tape over the top. But he was such a legend, and also just consistently checking in on him as well, because I mean, it's a horrible situation, and he was like giving himself anxiety attacks in there, playing up. He wasn't, like he'd never get past the edge, but he played really well as far as like, we would have him freak out for like minutes and minutes, and we'd just keep filming. And I would go, okay, I'm gonna get you to go back to the top, we'll go again. All right, and we'd do like, here comes a bit, here the person looks at you here, little cues for him. But yeah, it was a lot of fun.
cars, I just want to throw this one to Jake, because I know that in the film people might recognise that there was a car upside down, and yeah, that actually happened. So Jake, maybe you want to tell people about the joys of flipping cars?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, so that opening shot with the arm and the car and the glasses all cracked, that is a real Hyundai Getz, poor thing, upside down that we flipped. And that was a bit of fun on the day, and I think the plan, like, was oh, we'll just go like, what, 15 guys and just push it over, and we very quickly that wasn't going to work. But luckily Andy, and it was his brother, wasn't it, that had a four-wheel drive, and I had the whole latch system, so I would put it through the window and did it all as safely as we could, and just flipped that whole thing. And it's all on Facebook if you want to watch the video of how we did that whole thing. And then we realised, like, oh, you can't see anything through the front screen because the car, obviously the weight is at the front because of the engine, so it's just black. It's like, oh, great, this isn't good. But then I don't remember who had the ingenious idea of let's take all the tyres off and then use that to hoist the hood up, and now you can see through the grass and the rain and everything, so let's light it. And so it was just a whole process, and I don't want to spoil too much about how we ended up doing that 180 flip. There was a lot of trickery in there. But that was another situation of, in the moment, oh no, how on earth do we do this? Because we're having issues with the gimbal camera flipping, and yeah, the team was just incredible, and they figured out ways to make it look the way that it did. And I love how haunting it is as well.
Yeah, one of the things I was wondering was with both of the films, because I've seen Skin and Blister before, but not Hell Night, I was kind of looking to see what the similarities were. And one of the things was with the main characters, there's not a lot of dialogue for both of them. Like, even the story in Skin and Blister is told mainly through like body language, not a huge amount of dialogue. I was wondering for the actresses, like, how did you see that as an opportunity to maybe like help you tell the story, or was the lack of dialogue, did that seem like a barrier? I don't know what you've done in the past in terms of with acting, but I can't imagine that would be particularly common. So I just wonder, yeah, how you guys kind of dealt with that, and if that kind of lent itself to the storytelling, or if that was a real challenge.
Yeah, awesome. Maybe we'll start with Bethany with this one. We've actually worked together before, and physicality was a big part of that. And so I've seen your process sort of up close and personal, but yeah, maybe share that with the rest of the people.
Try my best. Well, definitely speaking, you can kind of say, oh, I'm sad, oh, this hurt my feelings and whatnot, but I think showing it in your emotions is far more powerful with the small details that you do. So communicating isn't just about saying stuff, it's about how you show it, the way that you move, the way that you react with other people. And I feel like it's definitely a lot more powerful not having as much dialogue, because you can get those emotions across. And it definitely feels a lot more realistic, I think, rather than just telling a story through your words. You're showing it through your entire body and your emotions. So I think it definitely helped having less words, because you could show more of a story.
I'll just quickly add, because that was a lot of our sessions, those every 2 months meant to meet together, is chopping dialogue. And we did it as often as we possibly could. So yeah, absolutely.
I agree. I think words or no words, the characters go through an emotional journey anyway and go through a narrative arc anyway. So I felt like the lack of dialogue was an opportunity for me to really challenge myself instead of relying on saying rely on doing and showing. So I still tracked an emotional story arc for Kira, and I just relied on, at the time I was training up Whopper, so I was like, this is an acting exercise, okay, I gotta do what my teachers tell me to do. So I was just like, but at the same time it's also hard when you're doing something as simple as like filling up a glass of water. So I just really tried to simplify it to like, you know when you come home from work and you instantly like you take your jacket off, you kick your shoes off, you put your keys away, and you do all these things without even like consciously realizing it, but you've done it so many times and you're in such a routine that it's because you're at home. That's kind of the vibe for a lot of the stuff Kira does in the beginning. Like she's making herself food, she's watching TV, she's like on her laptop in her bedroom. So in that sense, it was quite simple. And then for later in the film, when the tension builds and she gets more and more frightened, I found it like a good acting challenge. I hope that answers your question. Yeah, thank you.
And Nicola just quickly was very good in like the process of looking at the script together, and I really wanted Nicola's input so much as far as like, I wouldn't say that, no, I wouldn't say that, I wouldn't say that. Just cutting a bunch of shit because it's just not necessary. She's alone in her house, she doesn't need to say like, hello? So I think, yeah, Nicola's fantastic with that. We might have maybe 2 more questions and then we'll finish up.
There we go. Okay. All right, challenging me now.
So this one is directed at Zack, and I would say, you mentioned the light and your opening statement. What would you say you learned from the light to improve in Hell Night?
You got lots of thinking time.
Getting sexy, Steven. Very good. Very good. Thank you, Curtis. I think that one thing I wanted to do was like change my directing approach from being like such an angry young man that I was when I did The Light, you know. Because with The Light, I think I felt a need to really be like the force that's like push, push, push. And I still am that force on Hell Night, but I think I tried really hard to be a safer and more calm presence. Because The Light stressed everyone out when we were filming The Light, especially by the very end of it. We were in like a red room for days and days, and we lost track of like the time. Well, no, we kept the time, but we didn't know if it was day or night. You know, we were kind of losing it a little. And one of my like proudest kind of moments as a director, one is whenever Nicola like shed a tear in the film. I'm like, that's really good. She's really good. But my other thing is was that John came up to me one night and was like, he said, I was like, oh, I'm like, or someone said something about the idea that, well, I said, I hope I'm not coming across as like, kind of angry director, like, and he said, oh, I think of you as the most calm, chill director, which I don't think I am, but that's nice.
Not even during The Light, you came across as angry to me.
Let's go.
Yeah, I don't know where you're getting that from, but
Thank you. It might be a little bit in my head, but also, you know, I don't know. It might be in my head.
For anyone that doesn't know Zack that well, let's go! It's definitely his catchphrase, so I'm glad we got one of those. All right, last question, guys. Yeah.
Hello. So you're obviously, Zack, you're working on a show for this to extend it. So I guess my question is for Zack and Jake. What is the plan next? So do you have any future plans for this one, Jake? Or yeah. Sorry.
Yeah, it's interesting because there's definitely I feel like there's definitely story beyond that, beyond the hug and the embrace of, but where does it go from here? In terms of how I would go about exploring that, I really don't know yet. A feature would be awesome, but I have an idea for a feature I would love to write, hopefully next 2 years. I'm giving myself a lot of time. That I guess in a way is an extension of the ideas explored in this film. I don't know if it would be the same characters necessarily. Don't worry, you still get a role in it, don't worry. But yeah, it's a little blurry at the moment where to take it. But I mean, it could even be like a novelization. It could be something that just explores, because I really do want to explore more of the lead up to that moment.
I think that's what I want my 2025 to be, is really pursuing this. And I have in my calendar, it says that the extended series is called Backlash. And I've written in my calendar, it says 2025 Backlash, and I've said it for every day. So I'm but I really need the pressure. So if anyone wants to message me and tell me to do it and tell me to keep pursuing it, that would be really nice. Because it's a challenge to bridge indie to industry. But I really want to do everything I can to sell this TV series or get it made somehow. Because the story of everyone in the world of it is too important to me. And I'll be on my deathbed and I'll look back and I'll be pissed at myself if I don't. I need to somehow. Because it's super exciting what ends up happening to these characters. But yeah, cool. Thank you so much.
Cool. Okay, guys. Well, I guess that pretty much finishes everything off, right? Awesome.
You might just say thanks.
Yeah, definitely. Just let's give them one more round of applause, because
Yes, I guess thank you again all so much for coming, for staying. I don't think a single person left while we're setting up for this, so that's good. That's cool. I guess it's a good sign. I don't know. Well, thank you so much for coming. I hope you enjoyed the films. I hope you take something away from the films, and we'll be out there for a little while longer, so we can all go around, have a chat, take photos in front of the easel, all the backdrop, all that good stuff.
I thank you to everyone who made the films as well, to the cast and crew, quite a few who are here tonight, and the cast and crew of Skin and Blister as well. Everyone who put their energy towards it, everyone who supported these films. I mean, what a joy to have, just to have an enormous for us. I mean, I feel like it's enormous. To have a really solid audience turn out for this is awesome and inspiring. And what we really want is eyes on our work and people to watch it and experience it all. We'll be hanging around. We got this place until 9:20. So feel free, have a party, do whatever you want. But yeah, thank you so much. A round of applause for everyone. Thank you.